Today we are doing a special segment conversation with a very special guest. But first, when we get into it, let me ask you this question. Have you been to China? Because I haven't. If you have, I would love to hear about your experience. Definitely, likes or comments our post here and share your experience with us in China. Today, Beimong TV invited a very special guest, and her name is Viva Mo, and she's the program director to the Hmong programs at U of M. Vi, thank you so much for making time. I know you're a very, very busy lady, and thank you for being here with us. And Beimong TV is greatly blessed to have you on the show today. But before we start, why don't you share a little information about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Beimong TV, for having me on. I'm the director of the Hmong program at the University of Minnesota. So I teach Hmong language courses from beginning level to intermediate to advanced levels, directed studies. We do study abroads where we take students to different areas where, there are Hmong people residing, like China, Thailand. This year we were supposed to be in either China or Thailand, but that didn't work out.
Yes.
So we're planning next year already. So we're geared up for that, and this is a program that allows students from all states, and it's a national level program. And I also teach part-time a language course just this semester for Century. And then on the weekend, I do a Hmong language course for a nonprofit for adult learners for a program called Seed Project, located in Minneapolis, which is a marvelous program. And they do so much for our refugee communities and our communities here in the Twin Cities especially. So all courses are online right now. So I'm working out of my house every day. I have a home office. And of course, I have 5 kids. And,
oh, wow.
My oldest is at university as well. So she's also doing, distance learning, as well as my other 4 kids doing hybrid learning. So
wow, you're
all
amazing. You got your plate
my
full
husband, doing his construction work, and so we're just it's just been a really busy time for us. But that's count your blessings, and that's kind of looking at the silver lining. So
wow, you're amazing. You mentioned that you have 5 kids, your husbands, you guys run a construction company. You're also instructors, you're a director. How did you balance all that and then still be able to travel? Share a little bit of that with us.
Yeah, I'm really, really blessed. I'm very close with my family, and I'm truly blessed with just amazing children, a really great, loving family. My in-laws live here in the Twin Cities as well, and our in-law siblings who have been just amazing in our journey together, my husband and my journey together. And so they've, helped watch our kids. My in-laws help watch the kids. My own siblings are here in the Twin Cities. My mom is here in the Twin Cities. So we have a great extended family. That's the most wonderful thing about being Hmong is, when you have a loving family, you never have to pay for, babysitting. And so we do have all of that support. Plus my older daughter's 20 years old now, and so she also helps watch the kids, while we are abroad in the summers. And so we usually go abroad in about May, June, or in the summer months, July to August.
Oh, wow.
And so we try to also work it out during a time when people are also available. So it's really just about balancing your time. And if you look at balancing your time, you really can do
a lot,
anything,
right?
whatever you want to do, you can do. Yeah.
I know. I love to share that, everyone have a 10 minutes. It's just how you use that 10 minutes, right?
Oh, yeah.
And sure. I heard that you been to China a few times. Definitely share, how many times you've been to China and how's your experience?
I want to say probably 6, 7, 8 times. I've kind of lost count. Yeah. But there's been some years where I've gone like twice. Right. I'll go in May, and then I'll go again in July. Yeah. And each time I go, it's for like a completely different reason. So about 6, 7 times. Oh. When we go in the spring, it's usually for community work. It's for leadership work. Okay. Very specific, like Hmong community leadership, like returning. So the Hmong in China, they'll say like returning Hmong, like Hmong from abroad, right? They never say Hmong visiting. It's always returning. So whenever we go back to China, it's always returning in their minds, in their mentalities, which is really great. It's such a warm welcome. And so springtime, it's usually about that, and then in the summer, it's usually about study abroad, taking university, college level students to kind of discover about what truly is the Hmong identity, right?
Oh, wow.
And then that identity within the larger picture of China
Yeah.
and the identity
Yeah.
of China as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that you visited summer and spring. When is usually a good time to visit China? Like, is there like a best time, or all year round is pretty much, or what is the time that you recommended?
Yeah, it's really about like what you're looking to discover and
Yeah.
what you're looking to do and where you're going.
Okay.
So I would
Okay.
say if you go in the spring, almost anywhere is kind of fine. If you go in the summer, you want to go to, like, I'm very blessed in the summer because
Yeah.
we go to Hmong specific areas, which are like higher elevations.
Right.
And so it's cooler, the weather is cooler, it's nicer, it's spring.
Okay.
It's like, you know, it's summer, you
Okay.
know, but it's got a nice spring vibe to it.
It doesn't
right?
have like this like humid,
Yeah, it's not the
musty.
humidity. Yeah, all
Okay.
of that we don't really get to experience because, you know, I want to say if you
Yeah.
go to like maybe like Shanghai or
Okay.
Beijing or other like larger, you know, metro areas or so, with, you know, if you're thinking of like population wise, you know, it gets to be, and then the weather in the summer, then it's harder. So if you're
Okay.
trying to visit like
Right.
metro areas, touristy areas, city areas, things like that,
Yeah.
I would go more in the spring. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. And then how each time that you go, how long have you stayed? You know,
Yep.
like
So in the spring, I want to say, if I remember correctly, I think we stayed for like 2 weeks.
okay,
Yeah, one to 2 weeks. There were some years when we've gone and then we've gone to China for like you know, a week, and then we came to like Vietnam for
Okay.
another week.
Oh, wow.
But the most I've stayed in the spring is probably like 2 week
Okay.
time period, which is not enough.
and then
by the
you
way.
study abroad,
Yep.
right?
And then study abroad is always 4
Yeah.
weeks. So our study
Okay.
abroad program is a 4 week program, so it's like a month.
Okay.
And so we'll do like the whole month of July, or we'll do like last week of June to like,
Okay.
you know, almost the end of July, or
Okay.
July to August or something like that, but a 4 week period. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that's pretty 2 weeks is pretty like a good time amount to like visit China, or are the tourists like placed pretty like close together where you can like zip through
Oh, yeah,
in 2
it's
weeks?
not.
Or- okay.
Yeah, the
Cool.
places. I mean, okay, so
Yeah.
so yes and no.
Yeah.
You can go to one area, and
Yeah.
there's just an infinite amount of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just infinite number of places that you can visit.
Yeah.
In that one area, right?
Yeah.
That you can
Yeah.
discover and do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not just thinking about like visiting location sites and sightseeing, but you're thinking about like food, right? You're thinking
Right.
about shopping.
Okay.
You're thinking about like nightlife. You're
Yeah.
so and then you want to do all like the vintage things too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you know, 2 weeks is
Yeah.
never enough.
Okay.
If you're doing like a quick business trip or like a community leadership type kind of trip training, stuff like that, 2 weeks is good.
Okay.
But if you
Okay.
truly want to discover and
Yeah.
have like a comfortable feel, like, yeah, I've done a good amount of things, you know, before feeling too homesick, then I'd say about 3 to 4 weeks is like a perfect
Like a
time.
perfect time.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay. And then, you know, going there so many times, what do you like and what do you don't like about
Mm-hmm.
China?
You know, I'm an adventurer and a traveler at heart anyways.
Yeah.
So everything I see, I love.
Okay.
You know, because
Yeah.
when I travel, I tell people, like, you have to go with an open mind, open heart, open
Mm-hmm.
eyes. Like, just, you have to go discover and be with the environment that you go into, right? Be
Okay.
with the people.
Okay.
So everything you see, taste, feel, like, should never be like, ew, this is gross,
Yeah.
you know, but it's more so like, wow, this is different.
Okay.
You know, so it's all about like
Yeah.
your mentality of how you travel into another space that you're not used to.
Yeah.
But you know, not so much like what I don't like, but things that are different, that are not as comfortable
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
that I don't really mind, are just, you know, like, for example, the areas that I've gone to and the areas that I will continue to go into are more like Hmong specific areas, or higher up elevation to the
Okay.
mountain villages, or, you know, like non-metro areas or whatnot. And so in China, I want to say like traditionally, but I don't know if that's the right word, but like, for example, the bathroom issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's limited bathrooms, like like here when I'm driving around in the Twin Cities, like,
Yeah.
you know, if I need the bathroom, I'm gonna stop at like super America, and
Yeah,
I fully expect people to just go into the bathroom,
Yeah.
no issues, right? No questions asked,
Yeah.
things like that. And so when you're traveling in China, sometimes it's hard because some of the remote areas you go to, there's no readily, accessible bathroom, right?
Really?
Or you don't have like, I've been really surprised that I have not seen the amount of gas stations that I've seen
Really?
here. I'm kind of like, where do they get gas?
Wow.
And so you don't have those kinds of things readily accessible, or at least that
Yeah.
I've seen of.
Do you have to pay to use the bathroom then?
Some places, yes.
Oh, okay.
But that's China and Thailand that I've gone to, where
Okay.
but it's very minimal. So to us, it's probably like
And then you
1
carry your
penny
own
or
toilet
10 cents
paper.
or- yeah, yeah. And then you carry your own toilet paper just to be
Yeah.
safe,
Okay.
And their toilet, quote unquote, is ground level. So it's not
Oh.
like it's not the elevated toilet, for example.
Yeah.
And same thing with like Vietnam, Thailand, like they also have different
Okay.
toilet systems too, right? So like when you go to
Okay.
Thailand, it's a squatter, but it's
Yeah.
elevated. So the China
Oh.
one is a squatter, but it's
it's lower.
ground level,
Wow.
right?
How's-
So we've had like so many funny stories about like going abroad with different friends or families, and they see a squatter that's elevated and they don't know that it's a squatter, so they sit on the squatter, which is and that's Thailand.
Yeah.
But then for China, like imagine people not knowing. They're like, how do I sit on here? Or
Yeah.
right. So bathroom is one thing definitely. And then there are certain areas you want to get to, and the roads are just like scary.
Really?
Yeah, treacherous roads, scary, and people still drive like crazy on these roads. So
Yeah, I know. That's what I
Yeah.
heard. I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm
yeah.
gonna.
So
deal
like
with it.
elevation sickness, like you have to
Yeah.
be really on top of your game. If you're
Really?
going to be going to some of these areas with windy roads to get to the villages or to the areas that you want to go to. So
Do they go like like 30 mile per?
You know,
speed, or
I don't
what
even
is,
know the
like-
mileage, but all I know is it's very windy.
Is there a
and
restriction?
There's cliffs.
Oh, is there restrictions on the speed? How they can go?
I want to
or-
say yes, but
Is
it's
it like,
funny
eh?
to say though. Like, I have not noticed many of the
Mm-hmm.
speed limit signs on like on the way to the villages. But let's say
Yeah.
like you're in the city, for example. When we were in the city, we were like, oh, it's interesting. Red means stop.
Yeah.
Green means go, and yellow means pause.
Oh.
To us.
Yeah.
But like some of the areas we've gone to, we're like, ooh, red means see if you can go. Yellow means
Really?
go, and then green means definitely go. So it's kind of like.
Did you guys try to like
traffic
drive
is
in China at all? or?
No, we
Okay.
don't drive. Period. When we go to China, but we've been very blessed though, because
Yeah.
when we've gone, we've had like really great
Yeah.
individuals just helping find transportation for us, and that's definitely one thing you want to definitely plan is your
Okay.
transportation. Like,
Okay.
some people like to like go backpacking, right? So they're
Okay.
like nomad style, like I'm just
Right.
gonna go here and see where it ends up.
Yeah.
I like it a little bit more planned, and then when you get to like that certain city or area,
Right.
then you can leave like a
Right.
day or two to be like, okay, we'll just
Okay.
explore. But yeah, transportation definitely is something you want to plan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'll note that down.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And like, for example, if you go to Thailand, they have like a sort of like an Uber one,
Yeah.
and many people speak some type of English, right?
Yeah.
And so it's easier to travel in Thailand.
Yeah.
But when you go to China, certain areas, unless you're in like well-populated,
Yeah.
like foreigner-populated areas like
Yeah.
like Beijing or Shanghai, and I use those as
Yeah.
examples, which
Yeah.
I have not gone to those two areas. It
Okay.
just has not been an interest
Right.
of mine yet.
Yeah.
But if you go to like
Yeah.
certain areas like that where they're very
Yeah.
used to like the expats, which
Okay.
are the like foreigners,
Okay.
then you'll have like English speaking areas, right?
Okay.
Or more assistance. But if you go to areas that I've gone to, like Yunnan province,
Right.
Guizhou province,
Right.
Sichuan province, these are areas where China's kind of like independent. They're like,
So do
we
you-
don't have to learn English if we don't need to, and-
Yeah. So do you recommend like a tour guide, like for someone who
yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
no knowledge whatsoever? Like
Definitely, yes. Get a tour guide.
Okay.
And then there are Hmong tour guides as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there
Okay,
are Hmong tour
okay,
guides.
okay.
And if you're Hmong, you want to visit like Hmong specific areas, there are
Yeah.
many great Hmong Chinese tour guides
Oh,
as well.
really?
Yeah. And I know there's new and up and coming Hmong companies that are really starting up, and they're like
Yeah.
grassroots companies that they want to take like Hmong individuals to visit all the Hmong specific areas. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
connect with them.
so it sounds like you've been to these like most specific areas.
Oh, yeah.
What is one that you recommend for someone like me that have not been to? And I love my Hmong people. I love visiting, the male like the Hmong people in China. What is one area that you recommend? And it's like you get it all if you go to so this place, or do you have one like that?
Yeah, I mean, like we talk a lot about, like the elders, they talk about a lot about like patala, right? And they always
yeah.
jokingly say, oh, ni mo patala, oh, to mean like, oh, the person
Yeah.
passed away,
Right.
Because we think of patala as like the
Yeah.
old elder city, like Luzha
Yeah.
Lao, Luzha, or
Yeah.
Bei Mong Cao Tek Lao,
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
funny though, like in my study abroad, in my
Yeah.
experience in China, Patala is kind of like the baby village, It's like the baby town that we all came to. Is like the pit
Yeah.
stop before we started like migrating down
Yeah.
south.
Yeah.
And so it's not really like the elder village.
Yeah.
The elder village is even way before Patala, right?
Oh.
And so, but having said that, Patala
Yeah.
would be my highest recommendation.
Okay.
Simply because
Okay.
not so much because there's
Yeah.
extravagant things to see and do.
Yeah.
Not so much that piece, but if
Okay.
you're going for Hmong specific,
Okay.
Patala is sort of like the Mecca, like the central area where you can then go to Mangua,
Right.
you can go to Delia de Jua,
Oh, wow.
you can go to all of these other areas where our Hmong
Yeah.
people kind of settled and live.
Yeah.
The Hmong that kind of speak like us, that we
Yeah.
can still understand.
Okay.
That we recognize more and better.
Right.
So if you
Yeah.
haven't gone back,
Yeah.
or if you've gone to China but more so like the touristy side,
Yeah.
now you kind of want to start that Hmong side,
Yeah.
I'd say go to Patala
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
You'll see, and Patala, by the way, because we're speaking English today,
Yeah.
is Wenshan City.
Okay,
Wenshan
good. I was
City.
going to ask that. I was like, wait, if I can't find Patala on the
No, if
map.
you look for Patala online, then you're not gonna find it. And even when we go back to China and
Yeah.
we talk about Patala, they're like, man, you guys
Yeah.
are like legit. You guys are those that left a long time ago, because we don't even call it
Yeah.
Patala anymore,
Okay.
right? Because that's that town
Yeah.
or village, and it's actually a huge city now.
Oh,
but in
okay.
China, a huge city to them, they're like, oh, this is a small city, But to
Oh.
us, it's huge. It's actually a pretty big city.
How many, in a
I have
population?
no clue
like
about
1.3?
population, demographics, but I know it's
Right.
huge.
Oh,
Like, if you
really?
look at it, it's just a really big city, and they're building all the time, right?
Wow.
And so we're very used to Patala because it
Yeah.
used to be called like Huagai, right? Huagai, which means like flower bloom, right?
Okay,
And so
okay.
we call it Patala. And then the term La comes from the Zhuan people.
Okay.
Who is the other
Yeah.
minority group that has the highest population,
Yeah.
along with the Hmong people
Yeah.
in that area. And so in any area that has a high
Yeah.
population of a certain minority, that
Yeah.
it becomes like an autonomous
Yeah.
area where people of that minority group
Right.
they'll be like in political office, or they're
Okay.
they like rule
Yeah.
the area, right?
Yeah.
And so in the Patala area, it's the Hmong and the La.
Okay.
So the Miao and the Zhuan, right?
Okay.
And so to us, we say Patala, but they don't call
Yeah.
that anymore. And so when we go back
Oh.
asking for that, they're like, yep, you guys were that generation that left
You'd be
during
like,
that time.
can you take me to Patala? They were like, I don't know
long
what that
before
is.
the city, kind of like Thailand. It's called Thailand now, but if you go back looking for Siam,
Yeah.
like I remember Siam. They'll be like, oh yeah, you're of that generation that left before
Before-
Siam
okay.
became Thailand, because now we don't call it that
Oh,
anymore.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
the-
So much have changed,
Yeah,
huh?
the city name has changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say go there.
Okay.
And within that area, then you can
Yeah.
like 4 or 5. Well, when you go there, you have
Okay.
the best way is to fly into to Kunming.
Okay.
Anyway, and
Okay.
Kunming's got a really good population of
Oh,
Hmong as well,
okay.
but they're more like city-dwelling Hmong.
Yeah.
And then they've got like different villages on the outskirts of Kunming.
Okay.
Many
Okay.
great museums to see
Right,
that
right. Yeah.
reflects like the different minority
Right.
groups. That's where we host our study abroad.
Oh,
is in
okay.
Kunming City.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, you go
Okay.
to Kunming, visit a little bit there, go like
Yeah.
4 or 5. You drive 4 or 5 hours down to
Right.
Wenshan City, visit the Hmong Patala. You'll see them walking in the mornings selling
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Like it was so exciting for us because
Yeah.
like when you look out your hotel window
Yeah.
and you see these Hmong ladies in like traditional Hmong clothing, selling
Really?
fruits, selling stuff, and you're just like, wow, there's Hmong people on the streets, and then we're walking on the street, we see them, we're like, oh.
Something
May po yung Hmong. Oh, like
Yeah.
we get so excited.
Are they shy to like talk to you, or they're
No,
pretty,
they
like,
think we're
open?
weird. Cause
Oh, really?
They think we're weird because we're like, ooh,
It's
Hmong
like-
people,
you're
because
like,
they're so
"I'm from Hmong
excited. Yeah. So they think we're weird, but
Aw.
it's just like, if a Hmong kid
Yeah.
from like, I don't know, like a town in, well, I'm gonna say Missouri just to
Yeah.
pick a state, but let's say a Hmong kid in like a town in Missouri where there's like
Yeah.
not any Hmong people,
Right.
right? They come to Twin Cities. They'd be like, wow, look at all these Hmong people. Or they go to Hmong village,
Yeah.
they're like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
And that was us in China. Where
Oh,
we
really?
saw like just Hmong ladies wearing their clothing, and we're just like, wow.
Are the Chinese pretty used to tourists, and then when they see you, they're just like, another tourist. Yeah, or,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they're like, whoa.
In certain areas, but I think
Yeah.
over the years that we've been going back, and not just us, but like
Yeah.
you know, I want to say like
Yeah.
in the late '80s into like the '90s when Hmong Americans started exploring back into China,
Yeah.
and then now especially with a whole lot more Hmong
Yeah.
population visiting back.
Yeah.
They're not like I want to say like the general Chinese population. They're very used to the touristy
Okay.
people.
Okay.
But they're not very used to like returning Hmong people because they don't,
Okay.
and even Hmong people are not used to
Yeah.
the idea that Hmong people are like
Okay.
Hmong Chinese. Some don't even know that there's Hmong people in
Right.
the U.S.
Okay.
And so when we tell them, we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're Hmong and we're from the U.S. They're like,
Yeah.
wow, there's Hmong people from there too. So they're more
Yeah.
intrigued
Okay.
that
Okay,
that
they're
we're
like-
from the U.S.
like,
Yeah,
oh.
not so much that we're tourists.
Yeah.
But more so that we're from the U.S. and
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
and then you know looking at like educated
Right.
Hmong people or Hmong visitors or
Okay.
you know like they're just really intrigued by the whole idea of
Okay.
of people who look like me but
Yeah.
they're visitors. you
Okay,
know?
so they're not gonna come at you and like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
not
like,
really.
like go
That's
all over
us.
like, oh, okay.
That's us.
like,
We're like,
what
oh,
do
your
you look
clothing.
like?
We're like, can I buy the shirt off of you? You know, which is really rude, by the way. But,
Yeah.
but you're just so intrigued. You're like, I really like this.
Because
you
everything
know?
is like very authentic
Oh yeah,
and
super vintage. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's all handmade and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and you really just can't find those kinds of things in
Yeah.
markets nowadays.
Right,
Or prices
right.
are like
Yeah.
you know soaring
Yeah.
and the funny thing too is like Chinese people sell more Hmong vintage things than
Oh.
Hmong people. In Thailand, Thai people sell more Hmong vintage
Right,
things than Hmong.
right,
Same
right.
thing for Vietnam.
Right,
And it's only
yeah.
been like, don't quote me on this, but I want to say in the last 10,
Yeah.
10 15,
Yeah.
20 years, that more Hmong people have started
Yeah.
to turn around and started collecting these
Okay.
vintage things and then selling it as Hmong
Okay.
vendors from the inside, right?
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. I know that you mentioned earlier, like there are some things that are so different from the U.S. too, like the toilet, the red and green light. What is something else that that is very significant that we should really, really look out for that is so different from the U.S. that we are totally, like, you know, when I went to study abroad in Italy, when they say street, I'm looking for something big, two-way streets, you know, but then street to them is like a sidewalk, you know? So what is something besides the toilet and the red lights and green lights that is very significant, that is totally like different what we have in the U.S., you know, that a person so like fresh off the boat should look for? Yeah.
Well, first off, China is huge, and,
Yeah.
and I haven't been to all of China.
Yeah.
And so different areas are slightly different. You know, like when I talked about
Yeah.
the traffic, for example,
Yeah.
that was in like smaller cities,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
which are huge cities to the U.S. comparison. But you know, like I think if you go to like some of the bigger, more like developed cities, it's probably very similar to the U.S.
Okay.
As far as you know, I mean,
Yeah.
we're comparing like economies, right?
Okay.
We're comparing like metro type people,
Okay.
city dwellers, you know, things like that. It's very similar to the U.S.
Okay.
How they hang out, chill,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe like some things that surprised me was maybe like food, for example,
Okay.
because we're so used to like
Yeah.
Panda Garden or
Yeah, I
you know
know,
Lian
something so
or you know,
flavorful.
something like that,
Okay.
right? So like we go travel to China, we're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's the perfect time to go try
Yeah.
like real Chinese lo mein, or you know, oh
Yeah.
no, you don't find panda lo mein,
Oh,
or
really?
or you don't find like orange chicken, or you know whatever in those areas,
Yeah.
because the food is so different in from every province
Yeah.
to city town area, right?
Okay, okay.
And so the food discovery is its own new thing, and
Really?
you either like it or you don't. You know.
What is one thing that you love about their food?
I love the street food, but I love street food
Okay.
everywhere. It's
Okay.
so easily accessible.
Okay.
Like I love fish personally, and they have
Okay.
like midnight fish, for example, which is my absolute favorite. So
Yeah.
not every area has this, but I think it's
Yeah.
probably very popular in many areas.
Okay.
Where like restaurants
Yeah.
at night
Okay.
will open up for like a midnight hangout, and they hang out all the way
Yeah.
until like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, right?
Wow.
And so if you have a hotel that's near like a waterfront or
Yeah.
near like a touristy street
Yeah.
with these types of restaurants, you'll hear people mingling and talking all night long, just like the Thailand street food and Thailand street
really?
scenes, right? So they have like these type of night
Yeah.
markets, but they're not
Yeah.
like like clothing and merchandise. They're like hangout food markets,
Hmm.
and they just make like the best fish with
Wow.
just like all the best fresh veggies and just
Yeah.
everything. And you just chill, you drink, you know, you social smoke. You know, like I don't smoke, but I
Right.
social smoke
Yes.
when I go to
It's
China
like,
because the cigarettes are so cool too. You
Oh,
know, they're like
really?
these teeny tiny little cigarettes that are just really fun to like
Oh,
pretend to be cool with,
wow.
you know. And so you've got all this like mix of stuff where like, yeah, I'll chill with that.
Is everything pretty like affordable?
Oh,
from your
yeah.
drinks to clothing to
yeah.
food.
You know, food, drinks, hangout, fun, like
Yeah.
the necessities of traveling.
Okay.
That's super affordable.
So how much would you recommend something like for me to take it to like spend it all like living like
Gosh,
rich?
that's so hard to say. I will,
Yeah.
because again, it's all about like what you want out of that trip, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For example, like if you want to shop. I've heard on a number of occasions that when
Yeah.
people travel from China to the U.S., they
Yeah.
buy lots of clothing.
Yeah.
Because the clothing is actually cheaper here.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? Yeah, because the money, like
Yeah.
U.S. money, China money, like the
Yeah.
value is a little bit different. But
Yeah.
when you look at, let's say like, if you look at, I don't remember what the you know, like how much
The
one
currency,
U.S.
yeah.
dollar is to like a Chinese yen, which is,
Yeah.
again, don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 7 Chinese yen, for
Okay.
example.
Okay.
But anyhow,
Yeah.
if you go to China and you see like a regular shirt,
Okay.
that you would find at like Charlotte Russe, Forever 21, something like that.
Yeah.
It would be like, I don't know, 600-700 yen,
Yeah.
for example,
Okay.
right? And so then if you compare that to like
Yeah.
U.S. money, that might be, I don't know, 40,
Yeah.
$50, $30, things like that. I'm like, I'm not gonna buy
Yeah.
that for $30 to $40. I'll go buy it at home, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you want to shop mall style,
Okay.
you probably do better to just shop here.
Do they have mall over there like we
Oh
have
yeah,
here?
yeah.
Oh,
Huge malls. Oh my gosh, you guys!
really?
If you go to China, go to Chinese Walmart.
Okay, note down.
Gotta go
All right,
to-
you guys help me note down these things.
Go
There's
to
lots
Chinese
to learn.
Walmart.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Just
Yeah.
like if you go to Korea,
Okay.
you want to go to Korea 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
They have like all kinds of foods
love-
and goodies and
I
stuff like
love
that. They have like a
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if you go to China, go to like a China Walmart. I mean,
Okay.
we're totally missing out. Our Walmart here is so standard, you know, but they've got
Wow.
everything. It's like a huge flea market.
Yeah.
And the clothing, like, don't go.
Yeah.
Well, like for you and me, I
And then
would
which
think,
city is this located?
and like any
pretty
big
much
city,
any-
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
any big
okay,
city,
okay,
you can
okay.
find like a really, really good Walmart.
Oh, wow.
They've got like boutique. I would call it boutique clothing.
Right.
For them,
Yeah.
it's just Walmart clothing, right? And to
Right.
them, like maybe like boutique would be like
Yeah.
in the malls. And so like the
Yeah.
hip youngsters would not
Yeah.
shop at their Walmart. They'll shop at their
Really?
malls. But for me,
Yeah.
I would shop at their Walmart because the
Wow.
clothing here is so
Yeah.
boutique looking for me.
Yeah.
Like it's really nice.
Yeah.
And because I'm Asian, and
Yeah.
so it's fitted to my body stature
Yeah.
and my
Yeah.
well, not so much my size.
Yeah.
So one interesting earlier you asked me
Yeah.
like something that was interesting that
Yeah, like-
for me too is like here in the U.S. I'm a medium.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
can squeeze into a small. But in
Oh.
China, I'm a 3XL girl. I'm a 3XL. And so, and plus in China,
Wow.
and I keep saying in China, so excuse me if you're watching this and you're
Yeah.
like, wait, but we don't do that. I don't want to feel like I'm stereotyping, but like
Yeah.
in my experience of
Yeah.
China, I'm a 3XL, and
Okay.
just based on like the areas that I've gone to, they like to wear loose fitting. So like you're a
Oh.
smaller stature frame, but
Yeah.
you would wear something very loose, right?
Oh, really?
But for me, I love fitted
Like,
clothing,
yeah, right, yeah.
And so I know like one time I was shopping and I was trying on this like qipao,
Yeah.
which is the Chinese traditional
Yeah.
dress, which I love, and
Yeah.
it was a little loose on me. So I was like, can I get a smaller size? And the guy was
Yeah.
like, no, that one's perfect. I'm like, no, really, like I want
Yeah.
a smaller size.
Yeah,
He's like,
oh.
but this one is the good one. I'm like, not for me.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Okay.
So yeah, and that one that I was trying was a 2XL,
Yeah,
I think,
okay,
at
okay,
that
okay.
time. But they brought me a 3XL first. They're like, no,
Oh.
this is the one you need to wear. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, bring me a 2XL. So then I wore that one. It was still a little loose. I'm like, I want a 1XL. And
Yeah.
he refused to bring it to me. He's like, no, but I'm telling you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's my money, you know? So that was one huge surprise too. But
Oh, wow.
it was a surprise just to see the 3XL.
Yeah.
But I've always known that, okay, China size or Asia size,
Yeah.
and US sizes are slightly different. A medium here is like
Yeah.
nothing.
I think that's something that I learned when I went to Thailand too. Was I was like grabbing clothes, like souvenir from my family, right? I was like, okay, small, medium, large. And when I got home, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my husband is like a large, right? And then that their large wouldn't even fit him. It's just like too small.
For sure.
Okay, so we'll note that down.
Yeah,
we have to
yeah,
go
yeah.
like what 2-3 size up. So-
Oh yeah. Clothing sizes are completely different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that was
that's
the
good
one
to
thing.
know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So I know you guys have been tuning in. There's a lot to share, and you can say like B is full of experience and knowledge, and she have a lot to share with us. So don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a 10-minute short break, and we're gonna like look at a awesome video of China, of all this awesome place that we should all visit. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned with us. After that 10-minute video, we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna talk more. And after this COVID, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like itching to go, travel, and I just can't wait until COVID gets over. So don't go anywhere, come back, and stay tuned with me and B, and we're gonna talk more on her China experience. So we'll be right back.
Ja, am 21. war ich gerade auf dem Weg mit einem uralten chinesischen Freund von mir nach Tianjin. Wir hatten vorher schon beschlossen, dass wir dieses letzte Frühlingsfest in China, ich hatte ja schon vorher vor, China zu verlassen.
C'est un rêve en fait. C'est un. Je sais pas ce qui est arrivé. La vie a changé, a basculé en fin janvier.
ちょうど春節のお休みだったので家族で韓国に旅行に行っていて、その時にホテルでニュースを見て武漢が封鎖されたことを知りました。
Yo he sido de esas personas muy suertudas en tiempos de coronavirus, porque yo salgo de Beijing justo antes de que empezara, o sea, no tenía ni idea del virus, me entero en Cuba, o sea, no había personas diagnosticadas con el virus, no había ningún peligro en aquel momento todavía, por lo tanto lo paso en paz, tranquila, y regreso en un momento en el que se me permite en China hacer cuarentena de 14 días en mi casa. Justo unos días después de yo regresar a China es que sale la ley que dice que hay que hacer la cuarentena en un lugar designado.
その時韓国からの方が日本には帰りやすかったんですけど、私は春節明けたらすぐに仕事があったので、どうしても北京に帰る必要があったので北京に戻ってきました。私北京に来てから SARS の経験をしたこともあるので、 SARS の時期も北京で過ごしたことがあるので、あまり深刻に考えずに、割とすぐに
Εγώ έκανα τα δικά μου, η γυναίκα μου τα δικά της. Εγώ έχω ένα μικρό στούντιο στο σπίτι και έκανα τις φωτογραφίσεις μου ή καθόμουν στο πιάνο. Η γυναίκα μου κεντούσε κινέζικα φυλακτά ή ασχολιόταν με την καλλιγραφία της.
Donc on a décidé, ma femme et mes enfants, qu'ils aillent eux se réfugier en Indonésie, à Bali, dès le départ quand la situation devenait un petit peu incontrôlable. Enfin, quand je veux dire incontrôlable, où on ne savait pas ce qui se passait.
Ο ιός έφτασε σε όλο τον κόσμο. Ένας ιός καινούριος και άγνωστος, αλλά ο Παγκόσμιος Οργανισμός Υγείας το ονόμασε COVID-19. Βέβαια, κάποιοι στη Δύση το ονομάσανε Κινέζικος ιός. Μα πώς μπορεί να άλλας κάτι τέτοιο? Από πού και ως πού? Είναι μια απαράδεκτη και ρατσιστική ονομασία.
People are all starting to create their own prejudices in their head about how they should be treating other people and how they should be. There's a lot to it where there's lots of rational sense where you should still be cautious and sanitary as much as you can. But you can't say it's an ethnic issue. It's not it's a biological, but it's not a genetic divide being created. And I think that divide is more obvious now than ever. It's a lot easier to blame the outsider to hide your own problems.
Yo sentía que en parte en el resto del mundo no se estaba entendiendo mucho lo que se estaba viviendo acá. Y para mí era una situación que era muy delicada, ¿no? Y veía como en las redes sociales personas a las que quiero muchísimo en Venezuela se expresaban tan horrible de China y de los chinos que a mí en realidad me dolía, ¿no? Porque más allá de las diferencias que yo puedo tener con los chinos, porque sí hay una diferencia cultural, yo siento que estamos muy unidos en lo humano.
Et les choses arrivaient comme ça, de voir d'un seul coup des personnes en tenue, en blanc dans la rue, petit à petit dans les supermarchés, des contrôles. Je suis français, j'ai une autre culture et j'ai vu ça différemment, quoi. Ça m'a vraiment impressionné. Et je pense que oui, c'est une mesure qui fonctionne, qui a fonctionné dès le départ pour arrêter cette pandémie.
En realidad uno se siente acompañado y seguro en China. Y acá todo el mundo tiene el apoyo del gobierno. Todos los que estamos, incluso nosotros como extranjeros, tenemos el apoyo del gobierno chino. Yo pierdo mi trabajo, por ende pierdo la residencia en China. Desde inicio supe que teníamos una extensión de 2 meses adicionales para todas las visas y residencias. Ya cuando fue posible pude ir al buró de entradas y salidas y corroborarlo y finalmente hacer todos los papeles de mi visa. Mi visa ahorita no es de trabajo, es humanitaria.
Es una suerte poder estar en un lugar donde hay una organización que te permita cuidarte contra los riesgos que hay fuera, ¿no? En este caso del coronavirus.
本当に中国はそういった意味ではすごく世界の中では対応が早かったと思うので、武漢一つの街を封鎖するっていうところから始まって、出かける時の必ずマスクをしたりとか、手を洗うとか熱を測らないといけないっていうのはルールがすぐにその普通に暮らしてる人たちの中に浸透するスピードが速くて。
Yo no me sentía en peligro, ¿no? Yo sentía que tanto el gobierno como la comunidad de la que formo parte, yo sentía que todos estábamos haciendo lo que necesitábamos hacer para que la situación no fuese a peor.
A lot of people started private messaging me on Instagram, asking me lots of questions, and I said, you know what, guys, just go for it. Just like, spill it. Ask any question you want. In your minds, maybe you think I'm from the future now, 3 weeks in the future.
Para mí fue más difícil enterarme cuando el virus comenzó a esparcirse por el mundo. Era más fácil para mí poder contarle a mi familia qué era lo que sucedía acá, darles buena energía para que ellos sintieran que estoy bien. Me preocupa más cuando pienso que ahora son ellos los que están viviendo lo que nosotros hemos vivido hace 2 meses atrás. Saber que el mundo no está tan seguro como estamos nosotros acá en China.
Klar, wenn man in den sozialen Netzwerken schaut, da passiert im Moment viel mit Schuldzuweisungen. Jetzt sind quasi die Ausländer die Gefahr. Ich merke manchmal auch, dass man mich erstmal ein bisschen komisch anguckt, aber versucht das alles mit Humor anzupacken und dann klappt das auch schon. Also ich sehe da keine Probleme. Es ist klar, überall auf der Welt hat man Angst vor Fremden, ja, was man nicht kennt.
前みたいに北京に戻ってきて学校に早く行けるようになって、お客様も通常通りに日本からいらっしゃって仕事ができる状態になることが本当に今一番望んでいることです。
Le monde entier attend.
Yo sigo teniendo mucha esperanza en la humanidad.
Μαζί μπορούμε πολλά. Μπορούμε να κάνουμε πολλά. Είναι αυτό που λέει ένα γνωστό τραγούδι. Μαζί στεκόμαστε γερά. Διχασμένοι θα πέσουμε.
Como humanidad no somos invencibles, ni somos en realidad nada, sino que somos parte de algo mucho más grande. Lo único que podemos hacer es unirnos como humanidad y reinventarnos como humanidad.
All right, thank you for tuning back in to Baekmong TV. I thank you to those that are still watching, and for those who just tune in, we are doing a special segment, conversation talking about experience with China. So I know with this COVID and everything going on with the pandemic, the lockdown, that I know everybody's urging to travel, and I know you do too. But what is during this time that we're all just stay put? What is one thing that you miss most about China?
So like the last time we were there was the village, Luzhouhan Day, for example, that we went to, which is a Moa village, and we went to go visit like the Moa clan that lived there, and we had a old auntie that was like probably like 100-something years old, and she's really old, and she was there, and we were talking to her, and then we went back the year after, and then she was really sad, and she's like, I don't know if you guys will see me when you come back, and it's been like, and then we have COVID year, so so far I haven't heard any news on her, but there's been another auntie that's also really old in that village that I heard have passed, right? And she's the mom to some of the village leaders within that village. And so these are just like these amazing people with like a wealth of knowledge that we haven't talked to kind of explore about our identities there. And same thing here as well. In the U.S., you have your parents, you have your elderlies, your grandparents, you have your great aunts and uncles, to really have these conversations with them, because once these wealth of knowledge is gone, you will never get that back, right?
True.
And there's more written about us from non-Hmong experiences than there are from Hmong experiences, so why not connect with that? So I wanted to really go back would be an aim, a goal would be to just kind of collect the qualitative stories and experiences of people.
These elderlies or seniors, are they still pretty fluent with the Hmong dialect that we're speaking nowadays?
I'm so glad you asked that, because what's so interesting is the higher elevation you go up into the areas where that those Hmong people don't come down so much into the city, the more, I don't want to say like fluent, but the closer they speak to our dialect or the way we pronounce certain things. And so that was a huge surprise to me, because we are Hmong Americans, and we have many loan words, like we say like mble or mba, or for like bread, bus, kape for carpet, things like that. And so they also have, like they say 可以 a lot, and 可以 means great, good, right? And so they'll say 可以 a lot. And when we went, they were like, what does 可以mean? Like you guys say all the time. Or, they have like Hmong Chinese accents, Hmong Chinese vocabulary, loan words, and things like that. But you would think, and so like in my head, I was like, Hmong people have been in China for like generations, like that's where we've lived. And so all the Hmong must know Mandarin Chinese. And you truly know that you are indigenous to the land by going back and seeing that, oh no, they don't speak Mandarin Chinese, right? Because they are indigenous to the land, and they have always spoken their indigenous language, their heritage language, without the need to learn this other language, right? That's put upon them to have to learn, right? And so when you go to these remote areas where the families there, or especially the elders there, have not really come into the city and intermingled with like Mandarin-speaking individuals. They're Hmong, you can understand better. We saw an elderly like coming from the farm, for example, and she had like a huge pack of stuff on her back, and we were like, and she's like, oh, Hmong Tây Luo, like that, right? I was like, I got you, like I know exactly what you're saying.
You're like, it's my Hmong people.
And then like you ask them like if they can speak Chinese, they're like, no, we don't speak Chinese. That's not our language. And so the image or the idea of China to them and to us, it's completely different. And because you have so many autonomous areas as too. And so it's a
Right.
completely different idea
Okay.
of what China is. And so
Okay.
going into China and
Okay.
visiting China, you
Yeah.
have to remember that
Right.
your idea of China is different.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the country any better
Yeah.
or any different or anything like that, but it's just more
Yeah.
so of like when you go, you really
Right.
go with an open mind.
So when
Just
you
learn.
visited those Hmong villages, are they wearing like Americanized clothing like we do now, or do they still wear those like traditional clothing?
Both, a little bit
Okay.
mix of both.
Okay.
So the more remote areas,
Okay.
I want to say like I'm so proud of like Hmong
Yeah.
women, not to
Yeah.
put men down, so like don't equate it to that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what I love about Hmong women is like
Yeah.
all of these areas we've gone to,
Yeah.
they've maintained
Okay.
the essence of Hmong through the wearing
Okay.
of the traditional clothing and making the
Wow.
traditional clothing, right?
Okay.
And so in many of these areas, we recognize each other through clothing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd just be another Asian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Is the
and
clothing
they
like
we're Chinese.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is the
it's
clothing
really-
like modernized like we do now? You know, like
some areas.
Oh, okay.
So in the city areas, they're starting to get very creative. Well,
Yeah.
not starting, but
Yeah.
they've been getting very creative.
Do you have some
And-
to show
Oh
us?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I brought some really awesome clothing.
Okay.
That I absolutely
I know
love.
because I love your outfit. I love. Yeah, I would love to see. it. Yeah.
Because we're live, and so we
Yeah.
kind of want to know like what you guys think about certain things too.
Oh, that's
so yeah, put your
great.
comments below on what you think. But
I love the
this one,
vibrant.
this one is from Ling.
Okay.
Ling Li,
Okay.
and I think some
Yeah.
of you guys probably know her. She's pretty popular too, and she's
Yeah.
a singer, actress.
Yeah.
She's also Hmong Chinese from Guangxi area, but she's living here in the States right now.
Yeah.
And so this was made by her mom and her
really?
community back in Guangxi. And
Oh,
Guangxi is a
wow.
province, so it's huge.
Yes.
So when I say Guangxi, I'm not talking about like a small
Yeah.
little town.
Oh,
And
wow.
so this right here
That's so pretty.
is all like, some of these are like machine made. And
Okay.
then they embroider certain areas and then they put it all together. But
Oh,
see, something
wow.
like this is
Yeah.
Hmong Chinese fusion of traditional and modern.
Okay.
Ling's family and many of the Hmong in that area
Yeah.
where Ling reside,
Okay.
they're Hmong Ling. The Dutch hall is faced
Yeah.
just like our Hmong Ling and the Hmong Zhuo families. Our Dutch hall is turned down, right? So the part with the less stitches is up.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is a example of still very traditional,
Yeah.
but modern fusion as well. So to
Yeah.
us, if we didn't know any better, we would think this is very traditional because it looks
Wow.
very traditional to us. But
Yeah.
it's very much been modernized as well. And then I also have like one of my.
You have really good eye. This is actually
Oh, girl,
really
that's
pretty.
gorgeous, right?
Yeah, it's
and like
super
I'm always
gorgeous,
on the
you guys.
lookout for like these vintage
Yeah.
items.
Yeah.
And then I also have this one, but this one I think
Dang.
like many Hmong American families had, but I felt like I really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to bring this simply because we
Yeah.
shared in this knowledge of Hmong through these kinds
Yeah.
of outfits. So this is the shade to one of my 1990s
Wow.
Hmong outfits. So
Yeah.
this is the Hmong Patala outfit.
Okay.
And you'll see all the
Okay.
dangles
Okay.
and like all the
Oh.
beading and stuff like that
Yeah.
of the Hmong Patala design. And all of
Yeah.
these are all handmade. So our outfits that we had in like the late 80s to the 90s are all handmade.
How long does it usually
Patala.
take for them to just do one
Girl,
whole?
I do not know, but what I'm telling you is
Yeah.
if I made something like this, I would never sell it
Yeah, I
for
know,
the amount
same
that they're
here.
selling it for. It's
Same here.
but
Just truly-
but when we went to the areas,
Yeah.
like when we went to like the markets and stuff,
Yeah.
they'd be outside sewing.
Yeah.
And I have to
Yeah.
say, like the men would be outside playing cards,
Yeah.
smoking and watching birds.
Oh my goodness.
And then all the girls and the women would be like sitting outside and
Yeah.
sewing and stitching and stuff like that. And it was just so beautiful to see.
Something like this would probably take me like a decade.
Oh, girl, it's impossible.
I have to reborn just to finish it.
Yeah. Like I tell people, I'm like, okay, I bought it, and they're like,
Yeah.
well, can you sell that? I'm like, no, buying it was hard enough. If I had to make
Yeah.
it, I would never.
Because they only have
So-
one kind, right? They don't have duplicate. It's just like because it's handmade.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So the handmade ones,
Special edition.
every outfit was different.
Oh,
but
really?
now with modernization, machine made, the
Yeah.
clothing is a little different. So I showed you guys like the Guangxi area, which is the Guangxi
Yeah.
province.
Okay.
And then this is the Patala one, which is
Okay.
from the Yunnan province.
Yeah.
And provinces are like, I don't know if it's equal, but it's like states, right?
Right.
So like larger areas.
Wow.
But within each of these provinces, there are multiple subgroups of Hmong.
Yeah.
With very different designs as well.
Yeah.
Different traditional designs and then different modern designs as well.
Yeah.
But you know, with world becoming global and everything, like everyone's kind of mixing designs, and so
Wow,
it's
that's
becoming
really pretty.
we're seeing like similar designs everywhere.
Yeah.
And then this is also a great example of fusion between
Yeah.
traditional and modern.
Yeah.
So this is a shirt design from the
Oh, wow.
Guizhou area, the Guizhou province.
Okay.
And so you'll see like Guizhou province has a lot of these embroidery
Right.
versus like cross stitching and things like that. They have a
Yeah.
lot more embroidery styles. And the Guizhou area also still wears a lot more silver than the Hmong Patala or Hmong of Yunnan areas,
Yeah.
right? So when you look in China, when you look up like the term miaozu, right?
Yeah.
Miao, which some people find offensive.
Can I try it on?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
This is nice.
You'll see that like the Guizhou style
Yeah.
pops up more
Okay.
because in China, when they think of the term miao,
Yeah.
they recognize this style more because the Guizhou Hmong
Yeah.
are more prominent in you know, design.
So does it matter by age if you're like a single lady or you're
There are
married? Is it like different?
yeah, there are certain styles, and especially the headwear.
Wow, this makes me look so
Certain
pretty.
headwear, no, it does not. You look beautiful.
It makes me, by wearing this, it makes me like 10 times pretty now. I don't know about you guys.
Like, headwear,
really?
the
Like-
hats and stuff,
Yeah.
that indicates single and married. And I always joke, like,
Yeah.
Hmong Americans, we don't have that. Like, we don't follow that.
Right.
And so no one ever knows if you're married or not.
Oh,
unless you're,
really?
like, unless you're wearing a ring or things like that.
Right,
but,
right.
But for this style, yeah, they do have that. And then there's skirts and there's huge jewelry that
Right.
comes with.
Oh, wow.
So that is like central. And so when we talk about Hmong, we also talk about like dialects, right?
Yes.
But within each big region, then we have like many sub-dialects. So
Yeah.
when we talk about Green Hmong dialect, White Hmong dialect, that's
Okay.
just two small dialect families of Western dialect.
Okay.
And Western dialect is more Yunnan
Yeah.
specific, like for in today's China,
Oh,
which is this type. This is Central dialect, which is the Mu, the Kanne group, right? And so this is Central dialect. In Central dialect Hmong, or the Mu, for example, they have so many different styles of clothing. And just so that you guys, for any people who are interested, I keep my clothing in little zip bags. I shop a lot at Shine, this is not commercial.
Does
for
any of
Shine,
these
but
like get brown if they get exposed?
not those type, because
Okay.
those are like they don't have any real silver in them, so it can't
Okay.
be stripped. Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of like that sometimes.
Oh.
But the real silver, yeah, you're gonna have to keep it better than that, just that bag.
If this is missing after she go home, it's not me, okay? I didn't take it.
And then I also have this, which is one of my newest pieces. This is all handmade vintage.
Oh, wow.
And this is the Hmong, the group called the Amhmau, right?
Oh.
Amhmau group.
Amhmau,
And this group, I mean, like we say Hmong, we say Mu, we say Kanne, we say Koshong, right? And then we also say Amhmau, and there's also a couple different vocabularies of different groups and subgroups. But what I found the most interesting about this group is they speak like, I want to say like 70-80% the way that you and I would speak.
Oh, really?
You know, like you understand so much of their dialect, so much
Yeah.
more than, for example, like the Central
Yeah.
dialect. So the Amhmau is also a Western dialect speaker, and I think that's
Yeah.
why we share a lot more
Yeah,
roots
so-
in pronunciations.
Okay.
And the Amhmau is also highly based in Yunnan
Right,
as well. But
right.
there's Amhmau also in Sichuan, in Guizhou,
Yeah.
in other areas where there's Hmong
Right.
people as well.
Right.
So
Do they believe with the patterns and that or the designs that they created? Does it explain anything like history, roots, or it's just
Yeah.
for
so
the look of it?
So I haven't done any great research on this, but what I've
Yeah.
heard of a theory has been
Yeah.
that the Amhmau clothing represents like the king's soldier, like the Hmong king's soldiers back, historical, and so
Okay.
their clothing represents that.
Okay.
And
It doesn't like differentiate class? Like you're the wealthy one. You're the-
There are headgears and,
Oh.
and other adornments that does represent class. So there's like
Really?
a big kind of almost triangular hat with
Okay.
like flowers and other things,
Yeah.
and that's like the hat of like the royals, right? So like the princess and the
okay,
queens
nice.
and stuff like that. Which I'm waiting to find one
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I want to be
Yeah,
a
yeah,
princess,
princess.
right?
I know,
But
yeah.
but this shirt is like one of my prized possessions because we also visited the Amo village.
Yeah.
And I forgot to bring the skirt. But,
Yeah.
this is actually my dress.
Yeah.
Is made from an Amo skirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is what the top would look like, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna just quickly
Yeah.
throw this on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't
That-
thought
that
about
looks
wearing
good.
this.
Yeah,
It's
that
kind of
looks
classy,
good.
but so they. I don't
Yeah.
know who, but some people have taken
Yeah.
a Amo skirt
Yeah.
or skirt and a half and made it into an actual whole dress.
Oh.
But if you were to see a whole
would be
complete
like-
outfit, it would be like it wouldn't have this part.
yeah.
They wear just a white collared shirt.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's blue collar.
Yeah.
And the collars would come out on top, and then they'd wear the shirt. It would overlap. They tie it with like either a black sash or a red
Yeah.
sash, and then you would have the skirt.
Oh,
And then there's a big red triangular apron as
Right.
well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're very
Yeah.
they're very similar to us in that, of course, dialect, and also that they have groups in all the different areas that the
Yeah.
Hmong groups are also at,
Yeah.
and then the clothing changes slightly
Yeah.
as well depending on where they're
wow.
where they reside. Yeah.
So for one person, how many outfits do they have? Then if it's just like hand sew, like one or two, and then just like switch swap.
I mean, that really depends.
Okay.
They have different types. Like, for example, they have like this skirt that I'm wearing,
Yeah.
like the dress that I'm wearing with
Yeah.
with all these designs. They call it ta. Let's see if I can say it like ta lia. So we say tia lia,
Yeah.
and they say ta lia. Ta lia or ta lia, like that,
Yeah.
right?
Okay,
Which is
okay.
just a slight shift.
Slight shift,
Yeah.
okay.
Of how we pronounce certain things.
Yeah.
And this is more for like if you're going out to like
Yeah.
a wedding or celebration or something fun
Okay.
and festive.
And something like this is not like a daily wear,
Oh
right?
yeah, and then they have a similar one to this, but it's just white with
Yeah.
like a few stripes, and
Yeah.
that's daily wear.
Oh.
And then for that one right there, so I was talking about like fusion of traditional and modern.
Yeah.
That is very much a traditional cut in
Yeah.
a traditional style.
Right.
But it's very much been modernized. Like a lot of
Okay.
a lot of what's on that actual outfit is machine
Yeah.
made.
Okay.
You would not be able to afford the
actual-
hand embroidered one. That would be
Right.
like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be able to afford it, but you'd
Right.
buy one.
Yeah.
And I have two. I have two in
Wow.
different colors.
Wow.
So yeah, it's and then of course with Hmong living with amongst so many other minorities.
Right.
We've also integrated
Yeah.
and done like many different fusion.
Yeah.
Clothing of like different minorities, especially like
Okay.
the Yao people, right?
Yeah.
The Tsuan people,
Yeah.
like you see like Hmong Americans right now, their vendors are selling these sort of like square-shaped hats,
Yeah.
right? Many
Yeah.
of that's sort of designed after like the Tsuan people,
Wow.
right? And then you see other big pom poms and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's after the
Yeah.
Yao, the Mian,
Yeah.
the Lu Mian people, and
Yeah.
you see all these fusion
Yeah.
clothing. But to be able to go back
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see these traditional ones and then be
Right.
like, oh, so now I
Yeah.
know how my clothing
Yeah.
came to be
Right.
because this is what the original or the traditional looks like.
Right. Right.
Right.
Wow,
And,
that's
yeah, so
amazing.
that's its own hike journey. Hike up to the village just to
B, I
discover
think
that.
you really got me so like I'm gonna book my plane ticket and I'm gonna go China right now. Yeah, but what? So overall, what would you give advice or recommendation to someone who is like so fresh off the boat to visit China, and tell us like your overall experience and would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would say, especially like post-COVID, like once
Yeah.
everything opens up again and we're
Yeah.
able to go back.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm still very, very closely connected to my
Yeah.
families
Yeah.
and friends and individuals that's in China.
Yeah.
And they're always messaging me like, oh, we heard that you guys have a lot of cases and there's a lot
Yeah.
of Hmong elders that have passed, are you
Yeah.
doing well? Are you okay?
Yeah.
You guys need to wear your mask. And so
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
lecturing me.
Okay.
You know, and so
Okay.
I've asked them many questions. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
how do you guys deal with it? And they're
Yeah.
like, everyone wears a mask and it's very comfortable for them. It's very normal.
Okay.
They're very careful with what they do.
Right.
You know, everything's very fresh all the time, you know,
Okay.
and so like from groceries to
Yeah.
things like that. And so I would say like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even with, despite all the other news that we've heard and stuff like that,
Right,
and
right, right.
and even though we're afraid, I wouldn't be too worried.
Yeah.
I would say still take your precautions that
Yeah.
you would take visiting Wisconsin, for
Right,
example,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So like just anywhere
Yeah.
you go, you still take the precautions, but I would say go with a very open mind.
Okay.
Still, now that we're used to wearing masks,
Yeah.
more use
Yeah.
than before.
Yeah.
Still bring
Okay.
masks to protect yourself. Still
Okay.
bring like even before COVID.
Okay.
Still have your hand sanitizers, hand wipes. Like those are absolutely things that I package with me all the time because you might not
Okay.
always have water.
And,
to
and toilet paper.
Yes, and toilet paper.
I got that down. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
absolutely have that. Definitely pre-plan.
Okay.
Think about like, do I want to do Hmong specific or do I want to
Okay.
do touristy, or which leg of my trip do I want to do which one, right?
Okay.
Because these areas, you go to a certain area and you can visit so much in that small area.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or if you want to do like the Great Wall, well, that's way far from like the Hmong
Yeah.
areas, for example, right?
Okay.
And you might not be able to get to all of that. So,
Yeah.
so for me, I would do like this trip.
Yeah.
I'm going to do very Hmong specific. I'm going to
Okay.
get in as many Hmong
Right.
sites as possible, and then
Okay.
visit some beautiful sceneries
Right.
and hiking and stuff like that around these
Okay.
Hmong specific sites in the. If you
Okay.
go to like Guizhou, Yunnan,
Right.
Sichuan, Guangxi, like these are all provinces are like all together, like
Okay.
5 provinces all together. So
Okay.
I would do like, if you do like 2, 3, 4 weeks,
Yeah.
I'd go to all those provinces.
Okay.
And then
And
if
they're
you
worth
want to go
looking.
back for like the big touristy
Okay.
stuff, the mainstream stuff, the Great
Right.
Wall, you know.
Yeah.
You want to visit like Beijing, Shanghai, all of that.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
the polar opposite of
Okay.
what, you know, in
Yeah.
the eastern area, right?
Right. Okay.
Then do
Okay.
that in one trip. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. Like I was like, keep telling you guys, I'm sold. After hearing these experience, this is amazing. Yeah, I'm urging, I'm dying to go out there and travel. I love to travel. I love to hike, and this is just amazing. And China is definitely a really unique country that all of us, it's a must. It's a must. We have to go there at least once, and or many times as possible. So, I'm truly grateful. But any last comments before we end this conversation?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Like I love talking about this stuff. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me. And absolutely, you guys, like if you haven't gone, I would say like take the time to travel there. Certain areas are just like frozen in time. It's just
Yeah.
so beautiful, and
Yeah.
the landscapes. I
Okay.
mean, it's almost like. It's almost like entering the domain or the area of your ancestry or your existence, even if
Okay.
you're not Hmong,
Right.
of your existence long before you
Okay.
even came to be,
Yeah.
and then be able to step out of that as well. And so
Okay.
it's got like the best of both worlds.
Right.
But
Right.
that's
Yeah.
just like with traveling anywhere. Like
Yeah.
go with an open mind, go
Okay.
to explore, and don't forget to
Yeah.
always collect key pieces because you never know when you're gonna get to go back. Because I regret
Yeah.
that. Like I'm like, oh, I should have bought more.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's one great tip.
Yeah.
Right before we leave.
Yeah.
So this is my best tip. Don't pack too much
Okay.
because you can always buy simple, lightweight clothing abroad as well.
Okay.
Pack,
Okay.
survival type clothing that you might
Okay.
not be able to find.
Okay.
And then I always
Yeah.
pack like a smaller suitcase inside a larger one.
Oh.
I zip that up and I
Okay.
send that under because when you come back,
You're gonna have all these.
you're going to be packing
Okay.
all your souvenir stuff,
Yeah.
all your clothing stuff inside that
That's
big
smart.
one.
Okay,
And then
that's
all
smart.
your regular clothing one still comes
Yeah.
in that smaller one that you packed.
Yeah.
Because shipping your items
Yeah.
from China home,
It's pretty expensive.
super expensive. And
Really?
you're not going to want to get caught doing that. That's just
Right.
too much money.
Oh, okay.
So I would
That's
say,
a smart one.
pack a luggage
That is
inside a luggage.
Okay, I know that's a really smart one. But all right, well, thank you to all the viewers, for, staying with us from beginning to end. We really appreciate your time. B, thank you so much for being here, sharing your experience. This is phenomenal. I enjoy it so much, and I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you take notes, okay? I have a lot in here, and I can't wait to start planning my trip to China, and I hope you are too. So, but again, if you've been to China, you have any advice that we haven't mentioned or touch base, or any stories to share, definitely, shoot it to Baemong TV or, comment it below this post right here. We would greatly appreciate that. But thank you so much for joining Baemong TV, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.